is Pampero Firpo, and you are listening to the Dave Dynasty Show. Oh, yeah!
My little itty-bitty bruiser buddies.
United States heavyweight champion, Bobo Brazil. The world's heavyweight champion from the AWA, Nick Bockwinkel.
The Midwest supporting, bruiser loving, positivity spreading, world's most dangerous podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty as he supports and promotes Midwest pro wrestling. Keep on growing with the Midwest Express. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your host, Dave Dynasty, and we are here in a roundabout way to wish a happy birthday to Scott Steiner. Now, this podcast is being released a day after his birthday. You know, we're just giving the man room to celebrate his way, but we're wishing him happy birthday the Dave Dynasty Show way, the Midwest Express way, because today's episode, we're going to talk about Scott Steiner in the WWA. That's right. Everybody's familiar with Scott Steiner. Teaming with his brother Rick. Their infamous and great run as a tag team in the NWA and WCW, WWE, and of course, the Big Papa Pump era of Scott Steiner. Everybody's familiar with all this, and the promos and the Genetic Freak and the shoot promos that he was doing and everything. But we're going to talk about the beginning. We're going to talk about when Scott Steiner began in wrestling and got his start in WWA Bruiser Bedlam. But before we do that, we've got some business we got to take care of as usual, so bear with us here. And we're going to start by, I'm going to tell you once again about PROWRESTLINGTEES. Because guys, here's the deal. You're listening because you're a fan of professional wrestling. And if you're a fan of professional wrestling, then you want to watch professional wrestling, right? And there's no better way to do that than at PowerSlam.tv. They have well over 100 independent promotions, over 4,000 hours of content streaming from independents from all over the world, especially a great sampling here from the Midwest United States, which is what we specialize in. So go sign up, PowerSlam.tv, give them a try, because if you enter the promo code Dynasty, you get 1 month free. So go check them out for a month. I'm telling you, you'll be sold, and you'll be glad you did. You can always contact me, look me up on social media, and tell me thank you. Again, go to PowerSlam.tv and use the promo code Dynasty and get 1 month for free. Now, we have some other business to take care of. Before we do that, let's real quick talk to you about some upcoming show dates where you can see Dave Dynasty and the Dave Dynasty Show in attendance. On August 7th, we plan to be in Indianapolis, Indiana for Upstart Pro Wrestling, their event there. September 7th, we will be in Chicago, Illinois for Ring of Honor covering that event. October 12th, we'll be at Crawfordsville, Indiana for New Generation Wrestling Quest for the Cup. It's a tag team tournament. We are one of the sponsors of the event. More coming up here in just a moment on that, so bear with us. And then November 2nd, we will be back in Chicago, Illinois for Major League Wrestling's debut on pay-per-view. But now let's backtrack. Let's talk about New Generation Wrestling's Quest for the Cup. It is October 12th, Crawfordsville, Indiana. It is a one-night, 12-team tag team tournament. Now, this is in Dave Dynasty's wheelhouse right here, because Dave Dynasty, me, is a fan of tournaments, and I am a fan of tag team wrestling. So what better than to take two of my loves in professional wrestling and put them right here in the Midwest for a one-night event. You know that the Dave Dynasty Show had to be on board. So we are one of the sponsors of the event. We're very much looking forward to it. We will be there. I advise you to be there too. We will have a table there. Come and say hi, and be lots of cool things, right? But we will be there. You'll enjoy it. They've already announced the first entrant into the tournament are the Hooligans. So, I mean, can you get any better than announcing first team entrant is the Hooligans? Well, we here on the Dave Dynasty Show, we've got a couple teams to announce to you too, and we're gonna drop one of those teams right here for you now. So, at the New Generation Wrestling Quest for the Cup on October 12th at Crawfordsville, Indiana, the second entrant into that tournament is none other than Drew Skills and Apollo Star, the Soul Shooters. How about that? We've already got the Hooligans announced, and now we have the Soul Shooters. And the Soul Shooters, it is this great, it's this great thing here, right? Because what are you getting here with the Soul Shooters? You are getting this hugely experienced team that even before we know what the other 10 teams are in this tournament, they've got to be considered favorites, right? Drew and Apollo have been teaming for a long, long time. They are, and I don't think I'm exaggerating here, they're brothers, right? These guys know each other. They know everything about each other. They mesh and work together so well, given the experience, given the aptitude, the abilities of both these two guys, but especially when you put them together as a team. Even before we know the rest of the field, I think the Soul Shooters have to be early, heavy favorites in this tag team tournament. I'm a huge fan of Drew and Apollo, have been for years, so that makes it all the more exciting to see this tournament. I mean, already we know the Hooligans are in, we know the Soul Shooters are in. I mean, as if I weren't going anyway, I'd be sold, right? So get there, October 12th, Crawfordsville, Indiana, New Generation Wrestling. It's Quest for the Cup. And in 2 weeks, we're going to announce another team for that tournament, but make sure you watch the New Generation Wrestling Indiana. It's NGW Indiana group on Facebook for further announcements for more teams in this 12-team field. There are 10 more teams still to be announced. And again, we will be dropping one of those 10 here in 2 weeks here on the Dave Dynasty Show. So stay tuned for that. Now, if you follow us on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and I don't know why you would not, there will be a drop here in a minute telling you how you can find us on all those platforms. Here recently, we gave away a copy of the ECW Press book by Al Snow. This is a great book. I have a copy. Cannot recommend it enough. I'm a huge fan of Al Snow and everything he does, especially now his work with Ohio Valley Wrestling right here in Indiana. But we gave a copy of Al's book away. Great response. Thank you, everyone, for your entries, for the likes, the shares, the comments. There was a lot of great memories being shared about Al Snow and his career. Al chimed in and was reading the comments. He very much enjoyed it. Hearing from you guys and hearing these things, he was very appreciative of your support. He's very appreciative of all the fans who have supported him in his career and now are supporting what he does with Ohio Valley Wrestling in his book. But we did have a winner of that book. It is Jeff Reynolds from St. Clair Shores, Michigan. Won a copy of Al Snow's book. His book is in the mail. It'll be in his hands here in a couple of days. And Jeff's very excited, and I hope he enjoys that book. We are going to do more giveaways for merchandise and books and etc. I've got a lot of stuff that I'm constantly getting as promotional type material, and you know what? I'm going to share it with you guys. So more giveaways in the future. So again, right here in a moment, we are going to drop the plug for all of our social media outlets. Make sure you follow us. Watch on Facebook and watch on Twitter for the announcements for more giveaways, and jump on board, because who doesn't like free stuff, right? We're professional wrestling fans, and free professional wrestling stuff is great, right? Everybody likes it. So, again, let's take a break, and then we're going to get on the topic at hand. We're going to talk about Scott Steiner in his time in WWA, or as we knew him then, Scott Rex Steiner. So let's take a break. Pay close attention, because this is how you can follow us on social media for those opportunities, not only the opportunities to win stuff, but everything that we share and do on social media. So listen closely. Make sure you follow us on all these platforms. And when we come back, we're going to jump into it. Steiner, right here in the Midwest, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, WWA. So stick around. Hey, make sure you visit DaveDynasty.com. That is your central hub for everything within the world of the Dave Dynasty Show. From there, you can find links to follow us on all of our social media accounts. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube, which you will want to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have lots of classic wrestling, every episode of the podcast, and other exclusive features there. While you're at DaveDynasty.com, check out the links to help financially support the show. That is how we keep this free every week. You can go to ProWrestlingTees.com/The Dave Dynasty and buy a shirt to help us out. PayPal.me/The Dave Dynasty to make a one-time financial contribution. Patreon.com/The Dave Dynasty to make ongoing monthly contributions. Or you can click our affiliate links for Amazon.com and HighSpots.com. No additional charge to you, but it helps us out. Thank you for your support, and check out DaveDynasty.com. Complete your experience, The Dave Dynasty Show. Welcome back to The Dave Dynasty Show. I am Dave Dynasty, your host. Thank you for sticking around. And here we go. Let's get to the heart of the matter. Let's get to Scott Steiner in the WWA. Or, like I said earlier, us here in the Midwest, when this kid broke in, we knew him as Scott Rex Steiner. So let's talk about this. Scott broke in 1985. He trained with Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. at Torio's Health Club in Toledo, Ohio. Now, naturally, he got some help in this training from other guys that were in the Bruiser Bedlam and the WWA at that time, guys like Don Kent and Calypso Jim, now known as Bobo Brazil Jr. And everybody that I have talked to and everybody that has spoken on the matter has talked about how natural Scott was. He was a 3-time Big Ten runner-up at the University of Michigan in the 190-pound weight class. That's right, 190 pounds. Can you imagine that? And, he had this great amateur background. His older brother, Rick, had already broke in, had trained in Minneapolis, and was already in the business. And Scott was just a natural, right? He just took to it. It just seemed like when he was shown something, he immediately got it, to the point of Jerry just thought he was lying, that he had experience, that he had some training at some times. He just couldn't believe that this guy was a complete newcomer in this vein. Of course, Jerry Graham Jr., a friend of the show, on regularly for Graham's Gallery episodes, which we will have another one very, very soon. But way back when, we had Jerry on for the first time, and we talked to him in depth about his career. And you can see that in the archives, our Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. interview we did with him, of course. And there's been several episodes of Graham's Gallery, so check all those out. I highly advise you. Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. has experienced it all and is a great storyteller. But here it is from that initial interview we did with him. Here is Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. talking about Scott Rex Steiner.
Dr. Jerry Graham Jr.
Well, Scott Steiner came down, and I'll tell you how good of a natural he was. I took him in a gym here in Toledo. I started training him, and everything I showed him he could do right the first time. I actually, because he was a friend of Wojo's from the amateurs, and I thought it was a joke. I thought they got a guy who was already a trained wrestler, and we're going to see how far I would go before I realized that the guy was, but it wasn't. He picked up stuff that fast. I showed him one time, and he could do it. And I had him wrestle his first match. I think it was against Bulldog Don Kent. It was good to wrestle a real pro like that could show you can wrestle Kent a lot when he was starting out. And I had other guys as well, and myself as well. And he was always kind of a quiet guy, and he always was, a loyal guy. The only thing that hurt my feelings there is that he would never, a lot of guys I would train would call me like once a year. So I'm not talking about slobbery all over me. I'm not talking about giving me any money. I'm just saying, like, they'd be home for Christmas. They call me, say, how you doing? And the only time I've seen them since then is when they paid him money to induct me in Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame. It was a paid booking for him. So I went down there and I saw him then, and we talked. But you think that the guy that started you, and most of these wrestling schools charge money. I trained him for nothing, and I expect nothing.
Yeah.
Except, I said, if you have a chance down the road to do me a favor, I appreciate it. But I have good memories of Scott. Yeah, he was quiet, and he was a really good wrestler, a real natural, one of the most easy to train guys I ever had.
So Scott trained, again, as we said, with Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., with help from Don Kent, Calypso Jim, Chris Carter, guys like that, there in Toledo, Ohio. And he made his debut under his birth name, Scott Rex Steiner, there in 1985, and he defeated the Great Wojo for the WWA title on August 14th, 1985, ending a very long reign by Wojo. The match was in Dearborn, Michigan, and it was kind of a surprise, right? It was billed, it was Scott's TV debut when they showed this match, and they played it up with it like that there was this unknown, this newcomer, and they talked about him making his debut, but he had actually wrestled some prior to that. He had some matches with guys like Don Kent and Chris Carter to help him, right? And Scott said in interviews that the training was kind of sparse, and that he learned a lot in the ring, and part of that, it was true. I mean, it's just the nature of the business at that time, the nature of the WWA at that time, and it's probably an attribute to how quick Scott picked things up, that they were able to get him in the ring that quick. But him winning the title was this cool thing, and at that time, I loved Bruiser Bedlam, right, and the product, and these guys, Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., Don Kent, Chris Carter, Calypso Jim, these guys were great to me, and I love every one of them. But Scott was different, right? He was young, he was very fit and athletic. He had that modern wrestling look about him, and he was doing some spectacular things in the ring. He was doing a 450. You have to see this. I shared a clip of this on my Twitter. I'll have to see if I can find it and share it. Again, a 450 at the top, but it was very awkward. He did this 450, but landed on his feet and then fell forward into a splash. But it was still athletically very spectacular, and there were not very many guys in the WWA doing that kind of stuff. We had El Bracero, who was exciting too, but Scott was this whole different breed, right? He had this young fire about him, and you could just see that he had it. He had that factor from the beginning. So again, on August 14th, 1985, Dearborn, Michigan, he defeats the Great Wojo to win the WWE title. So here it is. Here's some audio from the end of that match of him winning the WWE title, followed by a couple of interviews that he did that were on that show and the next show coming up with some interviews with Scott. There's some with Terry Sullivan, some with George Cannon. I don't know why I did that. No offense to Chris Canyon, rest his soul, but with George Cannon, crybaby George Cannon. Now I'm all flustered. But again, here's some interviews with him in there as well. So check this out. This is him winning the title, and listen to the crowd response and how exciting and cool this was. And again, on the commentary is Terry Sullivan and Dick the Bruiser. So let's check that out.
He's trying to pull Wojo's fist apart, and he's done so. Look at that. He's broken the hold. And look at that. He's got Wojo's shoulders down. He's got it. He got it. We have a new champion. We have a new champion.
That's hard to believe.
Look at Grant going out there by Rex Steiner. Wojo has been pinned. We have a new World Heavyweight Champion. Counter. And Calypso Jim out to congratulate Rex Steiner. My God, after more than 2 years of turning back the toughest challengers in the world, the Great Wojo has been upset by a virtual unknown making his debut in the WWA. We have a new champion. There he is in triumphant victory, Scott Rex Steiner. In the main event, or one of the main events, you are going to see a return match for the World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship. The Great Wojo against Scott Rex Steiner, and certainly a great impression you made on all these fans. Scott, I know you graduated from the U of M, University of Michigan, Big Ten wrestling champion up there, but you're facing Wojo right here in his hometown. What about the old hometown advantage?
Well, I tell you, Wojo said I was lucky winning the belt from him, and I admit I'm going to have a tough battle trying to beat Wojo in his backyard, but I tell you, I didn't win this belt only for myself, I won it for the fans, and when I walk in the arena, I know the fans will be rooting for me. So I tell you what, I need that support, and hopefully I'll be able to pull it off.
All the fans will be behind you, Scott, because it's been a long time since they've had a champion they can truly look up to and truly be proud of. Scott Rex Steiner makes his Toledo debut against Wojo Sunday, October the 5th. Don't miss it.
Some of the biggest news in professional wrestling fans has been a recent development where the WWA title changed hands. This came right out of the blue. No one expected it. A newcomer to the WWA, Scott Rex Steiner, came in cold, went into the ring with the Great Wojo and Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., and a lot of overconfidence and a lot of Graham's maneuvering allowed Wojo to lose the belt. And the new champion of the WWA is sitting here with me today. We're talking to Scott Rex Steiner. And Scott, I want to say congratulations. I think it was just fantastic that you're the new WWA champion. What a way to go. And what I'd like to do now is have you tell some of the wrestling fans out there some of your plans for the future, what you intend to do, and a little bit of your background.
Well, I started out a state champ in high school, and went to University of Michigan, was all Big Ten there, all American. I always had this dream since junior high to be a world champion. So I went down south, wrestled pro down there for 6 months. Then I heard about the talent at WWA and Bruiser Bedlam series. So I came up here, and the Great Wojo was kind enough to give me a chance at the title.
Oh, I don't think that was... You know what it was, Scott? He thought you were easy pickings and that he could beat you. But he was fooled in that respect.
Well, I tell you what, I appreciate the chance that he gave me, and I'll do my best, because this title's mine now, and I'll defend it against anybody. There is great challengers out there, but I'll do my best to defend it.
Well, just prior to coming on, Scott was telling me that because when Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. and the Great Wojo had the title, that they used to put some of the good wrestlers to the side and wouldn't allow them a shot at the title. What Scott is going to do now is allow everybody to have an open shot at that title. All of the challengers that for many years have been waiting in line to get at the Great Wojo will now actually have a chance to go into the ring with the new champion, Scott, and don't forget this name, Scott Steiner. He is the new WWA champion. And not only that, wrestling fans, but you're going to be seeing a lot of this fellow in all of the Bruiser Bedlam and WWA towns. You're going to see a new champion, and it does my heart good for one particular reason, Scott, because for many years I've heard Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. come out and spew off at the mouth that there is no one in the entire state of Michigan can beat anyone from Ohio. Well, as it turns out, the man who defeated the Great Wojo for the WWA championship is a man from Michigan, born in Michigan, went to school in Michigan. He's going to stay in Michigan, and you guys, Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. and the Great Wojo, are going to have to get at the back of the line if you want a shot at this title.
What a great champion, Scott Rex. Still champion Scott Rex Steiner. Scott, what an amazing championship victory, and what sweet satisfaction you must have right now. Not only did you pin him, but you kept your promise to the fans and you tore that mask off of that guy's face. That's right, Terry. I tell you, I'm people's champion. I'll make a promise to my fans. I'll try my utmost to keep it. It must have been a very difficult match for you to prepare for, Scott. Usually when you're going up against a man like Wojo, you know pretty much what he's going to come at you with, but you were going up against a Looney Tune there. That's right, he was tough at the beginning. I was warmed down. Finally got a top room fight. It was an amazing, amazing victory, and you certainly are a man worthy of holding that prestigious World Heavyweight Championship belt. And I know that Chris Carter has got to be a guy right now, as he said a lot, he had a lot of harsh words to say prior to this match with you, as you well know also. Well, I'll tell you what, Terry, I'll get along with Chris Carter now.
Kevin Rex Bodie's got into the ring. Thank heavens that Dennis Cass in the ring also. Rex Steiner is very seriously injured. Terry seems to be getting up. Keep the camera on Rex Steiner. This is horrible. I don't know what kind of powder that was and what substance it was, but Rex Steiner is in pain. He's in immense pain, and he's been injured in the worst possible place to be injured, around the eyes. The fans bringing some water. Bodie, we got some water. Some water. Rinse his eyes out. Get that water in his eyes.
Now, Scott would lose the title back to the Great Wojo on May 3rd, 1987. And then he went on to team with Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. They did this whole thing with this double turn with Jerry Graham Jr. and Chris Carter. Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. was in a car accident. He was hurt. He was still on WWA television, shown, injured from this car wreck. And it kind of made him sympathetic, right? And Chris Carter started to turn and come out and badmouth Jerry and put him down and talk about how, maybe it's time for him to hang it up and get out and whatever else. And it wound up, Chris Carter was teaming with Muhammad Saeed as the International Freedom Fighters. But then, so Jerry Graham Jr. Was teaming with Scott Rex Steiner. And it was very successful. So here, let's hear about one of the participants in this turn and this feud and this rivalry. This is Chris Carter, again, from a past interview here on the Dave Dynasty Show. You can check that out. It's a very cool, very fun interview to do. It was Chris Carter's first podcast interview. We had him here on the Dave Dynasty Show. So go back and check that out and listen to the full interview. But here is a clip of Chris Carter talking about Scott Steiner. Spirit of America, Chris Carter.
Well, Scott Steiner, man, he was a great kid, man. He came to work with us in Toledo, and he was just breaking in the business. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he had his first pro match with me.
Okay.
And he was just coming out of U of M. At that time, he was third on the all-time win list with amateur wrestling at U of M, and he wanted to break into the business. His brother Rick was already there, and he was all over the place, so he didn't have time to help break him in. He says, you got to find somebody that's gonna get you some experience. So he got hooked up with Jerry, and Jerry brought him in, and we went to work with him and tried helping him and doing what we could for him, and he was always a great talent. There's a lot of guys that, it's hard for guys to make the transition from amateur to pros. Scott was pretty smooth at that.
Yeah.
Mojo had a little bit of a hard time, but he did okay. He really believed his matches. There was no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Scott was a good kid, man. We traveled on the road and stuff, and he worked real hard, man. Then when he was ready, his brother said, "Come on," and off they went.
Yeah.
The rest is history.
Yeah, Jerry always said he was such a natural talent that he would show stuff. He said there was even a time where he thought he was lying about his experience because he was picking up stuff so quick.
Yeah, he was very, very quick and very talented, very athletic. He was, was really something. A good kid, brought up in a good family in Bay City, Michigan and stuff, and, he really wanted it, and God bless him because he got it.
Now, Graham and Rex Steiner went on to win the tag team titles in the WWA on October 6, 1987 from the International Freedom Fighters, Chris Carter and Muhammad Saeed. They later lost the titles to the team of Chris Carter and Don Kent on December 6th of 1987. And Scott Rex Steiner's time in the WWA was coming to an end. He had accomplished a lot. I think he felt it was time to move on. But he did work a little bit longer in the WWA, and he started to team some with Calypso Jim and travel a little with him. Now, Calypso Jim now is known as Bobo Brazil Jr., and again, we had him on the show a while back. And as we do with a lot of them, because everybody has interesting Scott Steiner stories, and guys, especially from this time period, that worked. We wanted to get the reflections of what a young Scott Steiner was like. So here's from that interview way back. This is one of our early interviews that we did almost 3 years ago with Bobo Brazil Jr. talking about Scott Steiner.
Bobo Brazil Jr.
No, I trained Scott Steiner. I helped train him.
Oh, did you?
We was tag team partners. Oh, I could tell you some stories about me and him traveling up and down the road.
Well, can you tell us one pretty good story about you guys?
Yes, we left Savannah, Ohio, and was headed back to Toledo. We didn't have time to get dressed. So we ride with this Ralph the Pigs on, and then, no shirt, and a convertible, hair blowing. I had a curl. Scott hair was my hair blowing. Two police women pull up beside us. Off-duty asked us to pull over. We pull over. So they give us an address to meet them in Toledo. And we go to the address, and we didn't quite get the street spell right. Because, you're talking in a hurry. So we go and we get there, we go around to the back, we dive in the pool. We swimming so the women didn't come out. There was a guy come out, and I go like, "Scott, who's that?" He goes, "I don't know." He said, "They said they'll be here a little bit later." So about 30 minutes went by. Now remember, we got a raffle that night at 8 o'clock, and this is like 5 in the evening. Nobody came. So finally the cops came around and said, "Hey, how y'all doing?" We're doing pretty good. They knew us. So we was on TV. They said, Calypso, Scott said, "Do you realize y'all in these people proof?" We said, "Yeah, we was told by these two lady cops." Happened. They knew the two lady cops. They went to lab. They said, they live on the other side of town. What are y'all doing on this? The address. So we showed them the address. It's just the street was misspelled. And the people we had to get those couples and their two sons free tickets to get to the show to keep them getting locked up for trespassing. Scott and I, we laughed about it when we got the convertible and went around. So the two female cops came to the show, and when the other cops had told them what happened, boy, they came and we was a laughing stock. But it was one of the greatest nights that we ever had tagging together. And then we went on the next night, and they split us up. They gave me Dennis Cash, which he's dead and gone. And we was Team USA, and Scott Steiner took the belt from the Great Rojo to become the WWA World Heavyweight Champion.
That was a great time, and we still run together. We still hung together. I was the tag team champion, one half tag team champion. He was the heavyweight champion. We went everywhere together, and then he said, I want to go places. And I said, well, go down to Memphis. They don't pay much. I said, but go down to Memphis. I went to WCW. He went down to Memphis. So my 3 weeks in WCW was time for me to come back to the WWA. He went, and they said, we didn't send for you. We sent for Clips of the Gym. What are you doing here? Well, the promoter, Nick Douglas out of Nashville, Tennessee, sent him there. They didn't get the email, so they sent Scott Steiner back to Memphis. I had to turn around and go back for another week, and then they sent me to Memphis to tag with Scott. It was another great time, but he was something else. He was a character and a half. You cannot get him today. Right today, you cannot. If you ever interview, he would not say Bobo Jr. He would always say Clipso Jim. My wife met him in 2005, and she said, Bobo told me come around to this door. He said, you mean Clipso Jim? She said, why he called you? I said, that's all he's going to ever call me. That's all he ever. But we had a lot of fun. As being a Big Ten Michigan wrestler, Scott was. We went to a lot of homes to see children. That Hogan didn't go to see. I'm not down with Hogan, but Hogan's supposed to have been there. George Cannon said, I need you two to go. At the time, I was a resident of Indianapolis. I had to drive from Indianapolis to Detroit, and Scott he had to drive from Memphis to Detroit. You know, that's how dedicated we was to wrestling. And guys is not dedicated like that no more.
So in early 1988, Scott Rex Steiner moved on to the Memphis territory and worked there. I believe he continued to work under the name Scott Rex Steiner there. And again, it was clear that his star was on the rise. It was clear that he had all this talent, and it was not long after that he made the move to the NWA, started teaming with his brother Rick, and then, as they say, the rest is history. Everybody knows the star that Scott Steiner became after that. Again, Scott Steiner's always been entertaining. He's always been a great character, and he's always been very innovative, especially in WWA Bruiser Bedlam at that time. Again, there was not anybody doing things like Scott. There was not that young, fiery guy with that body and that look and that energy that he had. I mean, he'd come leaping in over the ropes before matches and just pumped up during his introductions. And there was nobody else doing that at the time, so he was very fresh and exciting in the territory at that time. Now, Scott, from all those stories I've gathered, he doesn't like to talk about his time in the WWA and with Bruiser Bedlam. There has been some comments he's made about Dick the Bruiser, where he said, you know, Bruiser was a great guy and he loved traveling with Dick and being around Dick and hearing stories about the old times and everything else. But Scott doesn't like to talk a lot about those early days, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure, you know, what it is about it. You know, I guess he just likes to focus on the prime years of his career. Apparently, I'm not sure what it is. I've had this movement, this wish to have Scott Steiner on my show to talk about the beginning of his career. Just want to talk about his time in WWE and Bruiser Bedlam. And who knows? Hopefully, maybe, perhaps, someday, it'll come to fruition. One can hope, right? It is one of my dream interviews to have on the show, so I'm keeping that spark of hope alive. But that is it. That is pretty much the short run of Scott Steiner in the beginning of his career in WWA, particularly in Bruiser Bedlam after they moved to the Toledo, Ohio office. We're talking, you know, literally just, you know, a couple year run there from 85 through 87 is his time here. So, but it was very memorable. It was a great body of work. And now there was an official release by Bruiser Bedlam called Scott Steiner, The Early Years, that was put out later, that has a lot of his matches and clips and some interviews and different things. That is up on my YouTube channel. And if you look right here in the show notes for this podcast, so wherever you're listening to it, you can click on it, look at the show notes. There is a link there to check that out. If you don't want to do that, all you got to do is type in tinyurl.com/Scott Steiner WWA. It'll take you straight to that video on YouTube. It's over an hour long. It is great stuff to watch. I cannot recommend it enough. So go check that out. And so then you can flesh out your experience and really visualize what Scott Steiner was like at the beginning of his career and WWA Bruiser Bedlam. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to close something out, and I have a very special show that I didn't mention earlier because I wanted to save it to talk about at the end. So please do come back, and we're going to talk about this show for a moment that I'm going to be a part of. So stick around. If you are looking for the best books, DVDs, and posters on classic wrestling nostalgia, then you want to visit crowbarpress.com. There are literally dozens of titles there, including biographies of the likes of Bruiser Brody, Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and of course, Dick the Bruiser, as we've spoke about here on the Dave Dynasty Show. You want to visit crowbarpress.com for all of your classic wrestling nostalgia needs. Again, that is crowbarpress.com. All right, thank you for sticking around. I have a very special event I want to talk about. And again, I didn't want to just get to throw it in there and mix it in with the events I threw out there earlier, because I wanted to talk a little bit in length about this event. Anybody who's a regular listener to the show knows that I do a lot of work with Delaware County Championship Wrestling in Muncie, Indiana. And I'm very proud to be part of this group. I fully enjoy their shows and working with them. There is a young fan they had. His name was Christian, and a few shows ago, we announced at the show, or DCCW announced at the show, he was terminally ill with brain cancer, and they brought him in the ring, and it was so wonderful to see the joy on Christian's face that night, and how much he enjoyed it, and hearing about how his parents talking about how much it meant to him. And DCCW, we found out recently, he had taken a turn for the worse, and then we just found out a few days ago that Christian had passed away. And it's time for the wrestling community to rally, the DCCW community to rally, and I'm hoping that if you're in the area, you can help, right? And you can do this by attending an event called Wrestling for Christian. It's going to be held on August 24th at the Mad Jack's building in Muncie, Indiana. Christian's parents had been out of work for a couple of months taking care of their son, and because he needed, constant care. And it's obviously caused a lot of stress. Now, there's nothing we can do to ease their pain or their loss, but we can rally and help ease some of these stresses otherwise, and that includes the financial stresses. So the money raised by this show will be going straight to Christian's family to help try to keep them and get them back on their feet and get them back afloat and help them get through this tough time, financially speaking. There's a lot of talent coming in to work this show. The DCCW champion Mike King will be there. Tag team champions Knights of the Squared Circle will be there. KC Thunder, Joey Owens is going to be there. Mitchell Taylor is going to be there. Tommy Gage is going to be there. Split Rail is going to be there. There's a lot of guys. The word has it, and again, I hope I'm not jumping the gun here to do this. There are some big names being spoken that are going to donate their time to be at this event. And those announcements will be forthcoming if you want to watch DCCW's Facebook and Twitter. They're both at DCCW Indiana. But again, if you are anywhere where you can make this drive to Muncie, Indiana, please get there. I believe they're going to try to do some raffles and some things. Anything they can do to raise money. Again, this is time for the wrestling community to rally and to help out a great family that are great supporters of independent wrestling and great fans, and to help pay tribute to Christian, and again, help his parents. So again, that is August 24th, Muncie, Indiana, Wrestling for Christian. I will be there. Fellow podcasters in your house, Alicon House and Hutch will be there. And again, it's going to be a great show. More announcements are coming, but trust me, you're going to enjoy the show, and it's for a great cause. So let's be there, and let's do this, and let's rally together. The Midwest Express is strong. We do these kind of things. We raise people onto our shoulders. We put them on our backs and carry them when need be, and this is the time to do that. For more information, you can visit the Facebook page. The event page for this is at tinyurl.com/DCCWAUG. That's DCCWAUG. It'll take you straight to the event page. That's where the breaking announcements on talent and appearances and other things for the event will be there. So, again, like I said, I'll be there. You'll be able to, you can say hi to me. You can meet me. You can have a picture take with me. In your house will be there. And lots of great talent. You're going to have a good time. There are always fun shows. And added bonus, this is for a great, great cause. So I'm rallying. I'm trying to get the Midwest Express and the entire dynasty out there, all my backers, to try to come, try to help. And I'm hoping to see if there was any other way that long distance people might be able to help. Nothing has been announced yet, but keep posted. Of course, I will make announcements here, and we will be plugging and talking about that event regularly here on the show. I appreciate it, and thank you in advance for your thoughts for this family and anything you can do to help. Again, and thank you for the support you give here on the Dave Dynasty Show. Make sure you subscribe and review to us on whatever platform you listen to us. If you listen to us on iTunes, rate and review us. And then make sure you share all the episodes and all of our posts on social media. You heard the drop earlier, all the ways you can find us on social media. But all you got to remember is DaveDynasty.com. There's links there for everything. And there's ways to make contributions through Patreon and PayPal. Again, the show costs money, right? It costs money for the equipment, the time, the travel, all the things we put into it and trying to expand and grow and bring you the best in Midwest professional wrestling podcasts. We cover the history. We try to give you one-of-a-kind interviews. So help with your support and continue to back us as you always have. Again, you can do that through paypal.me/The Dave Dynasty for one-time contributions, patreon.com/The Dave Dynasty for ongoing monthly contributions, or go buy a shirt, ProWrestlingTees.com/The Dave Dynasty. Hopefully we're going to have a new shirt or two on there in the near future. But right now you can get the classic Dave Dynasty logo shirt, the Midwest Express logo shirt, and of course, shirts for friends of the show, Izzy Slapowitz and Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. So go check those out, buy a shirt, support the show. We thank you. And hopefully you enjoyed the talk about Scott Steiner today in the WWA. It's a topic that I've been wanting to do for a while, and we thought, again, we'd partner it up with his birthday today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. And again, thank you for supporting all that we do, and thank you for being strong members of the Midwest Express, supporting Midwest professional wrestling, past, present, and future. And until next week, in anything you do and anywhere you go, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.